The manhwa starts by showing us a city in the middle of an apocalypse. The city's actually low-key kind of run down. Stores have been closed, and roads have been blocked off. There's an announcement from the government that says, in accordance with government regulations, Walmart is limiting the amount of water and food that may be purchased by each individual, and they ask for their understanding. The announcement gets cut short by a shelf falling over, almost crushing somebody. Everybody begins panicking, grabbing whatever they can. And we see a man in the back of the group doing his best to reach in, trying to grab something, but settling for the scraps that everybody else left behind. He looks at what little he was able to get in his bag, gassed out. Then he hears crying and looks over, seeing a kid bawling while her grandmother holds onto her bleeding face. The man explains that even though the earth is still spinning, it only took 3 months for this to happen. 3 months, for humanity to destroy itself. And what started this apocalypse was none other than one piece of news. There was an asteroid called Rama that was expected to pass dangerously close to Earth, and then crash into Jupiter or Mars. We see the man looking at his computer 3 months earlier, before the apocalypse. He's scrolling through an article, and his coworker asks if he's not going home yet. We learn that his name is Mr. Kang. He tells her to go on ahead, and she and another coworker leave. They mention how Mr. Kang is divorced, and since he doesn't want to go home to an empty house, he works late every night. At that time, Rama was just another chunk of rock floating around in space that only the academic world was interested in, and it was widely ignored by the general public. However, Mr. Kang was different, as he understood how dangerous it truly was. Sometime later, on the news, they announced that Rama, which was predicted to only pass by the Earth, has slowly changed its direction toward Earth itself. As we see Mr. Kang counting utensils, they continue explaining that a proposal to redirect the asteroid's trajectory with nuclear bombs was put forward by the International Space Development Conference. However, experts are saying it's not enough, and they have an expert here with them today to share his opinion on the matter. The professor is introduced as Professor Tae-Koo Kim. He says it's his pleasure to be there, and he's a thermonuclear engineer. Mr. Kang watches the news and explains that Rama slowly changed course and began to show its true colors. Tae-Koo explains that right now, it is a massive rock over 160 kilometers in diameter, hurtling toward Earth at a speed of 17.5 kilometers per second. The news reporter says it's kind of hard to grasp the reality of the situation, and Tae-Koo says he'll put it in simpler terms. The distance between the Earth and the Moon is 380,000 kilometers, and at the speed the asteroid is moving, it can cover that distance in just 6 hours. If an asteroid of that size, at that speed, crashes into Earth, it will literally smash the Earth into pieces. To demonstrate, he throws his glass onto the ground, explaining that it will shatter completely, and hiding in bunkers will not save them. Even if they take immediate action, it is too late. He says they're trying to reassure the public with idle measures, and the ISDC is planting false hopes in people's minds. Mr. Kang's coworkers say they can't trust anything on the news, and they continue talking about how worried they are, making it hard for him to concentrate on work. While they keep talking, Mr. Kang sits there, looking at his water. They say that if the asteroid is going to end the world, they want to spend time with their family. One of his coworkers asks if his parents are worried about him. He tells her it's been a while since they died. On the news, Tae-Koo says if they had discovered the asteroid 3 years ago, or even just a year ago, they would have been able to do something. Mr. Kang continues saying that even in the middle of all the speculation, fear, and optimism, Rama stubbornly kept hurtling toward Earth. The ISDC makes an announcement, saying their plan is to simultaneously fire all of their nuclear bombs into space to direct the asteroid away from Earth with the impact of the explosions. Even in the face of humanity's greatest crisis, one which they have never had to face before, they are sure humanity will prevail. And that the crisis will also serve as a beacon of hope. For the first time in history, the world has come together as one in solidarity to overcome the threat of Rama. People are now starting to protest in the streets, saying that Rama is divine judgment for the non-believers and that the only way to enter heaven is to accept their death. Mr. Kang drives by this and watches their protest. And it's not just him, every single person on the street is obsessed with looking at the news about Rama. He looks up at the sky in the middle of his car, wondering if it really is going to be the end. Meanwhile, the president of the ISDC says they have completed all final inspections, and there is no need to fear, as they will not fail. We are introduced to the president, named Daniel J. Kluski. He says they will stop Rama at all costs, and they again ask everybody to remain calm. Mr. Kang just sits there, waiting for his red light. People behind him start getting impatient, telling him that he needs to move because the light is not working. And that is how he has gotten to where he is now, 3 months later, in the convenience store, handing the little girl some of his food, telling her she can take it. They then hear a very loud rumble outside. Mr. Kang turns, sweating nervously, only for all of the rioters to kick him and literally walk over him as the food in his bag starts falling out. He looks over, with his head bleeding, and the little girl's grandma is stealing his food. Mr. Kang, now sitting on the floor, is surprised but realizes now that he shouldn't have trusted them. And he is now all alone without any food. Luckily, though, they left a can of beer, and it rolls all the way over to his foot. He looks down at it and decides that it is better than nothing. He picks it up, walks over to the cash register, puts some money down to pay for it, and then walks out of the store, looking up at the asteroid. He says, with the last hope of humanity riding on their efforts, all the nukes around the world got sent up in unison toward Rama. Everyone around the globe looked up and hoped that maybe this would actually deter the asteroid, and things could go back to how they were. But of course, their hope was hidden from view behind the dazzle of fireworks, because all it did was break the asteroid up into more pieces, sending them hurtling down toward Earth. Mr. Kang says, in the end, humanity failed to redirect the asteroid's trajectory, and the apocalypse was now imminent. He heads back to his house and browses through photo albums. We see one of him and his mother when he was younger, then it follows his school life from middle school to graduation, and so on, until he finds the pages are now blank. The only thing left in there is a photo of him graduating from university without his parents by his side. He looks as if he misses them dearly, then looks out the balcony, realizing that he might as well enjoy what he can for now. He puts the photo album down, picks up the beer from the convenience store, and walks over to his balcony. He props up against it, cracks a cold one, and raises it up, as the asteroid is now just moments away from impacting Earth. As it hurtles down, it disintegrates everything around it. He still sits there raising his beer to it. All of the buildings in the vicinity start to collapse. And these were humanity's final moments. In just a few seconds, nothing would be left. His final words are, "Cheers," as he looks up at the asteroid. He doesn't even get a sip of his drink. He then jolts awake in bed. He sees he has a middle school uniform, a backpack, and some middle school science books too. He immediately sits up, sweating bullets, wondering what happened, saying that the world definitely came to an end. And when he looks inside the mirror, we finally learn that Mr. Kang's full name is Cheolsu Kang. He is an ordinary office worker who died when the asteroid crashed into Earth, and now, he has returned back to when he was 13 years old. Cheolsu says that this can't be real. He starts to stand up but slips, falling over. Not waking up from that, he looks around, still confused, in his room, and then starts to walk around it, wondering if maybe he's in a flashback, like when they say your life flashes before your eyes when you die. He walks over to his desk and looks down at a book that's called The Secret of the Universe. He can even read the author's bio, the table of contents, and pretty much anything that he wants, and he says that if this is really a flashback, there's no way he'd remember all of these things. He wonders how this is real and steps backwards, sitting down into his chair, saying he needs to think about the possibilities. All of his books now start on the floor, but the birds continuously just chirp. He decides that he should try something else, so he rolls up to his desk, cutting on his computer. It boots into Windows 2000, and he types in Rama and searches it. As it starts loading, he anxiously waits. But of course, dial-up is hella bad, so it's taking forever. He says this is way too slow. Then he decides to look up asteroid collision and finds no results. He looks up Rama and again finds 0 results, and even stuff about preventing the asteroid, and he can't find a single thing online. He's still having a lot of anxiety. He tells himself to calm down. He thinks he's traveled back in time, but he wonders how, why, and who made it happen. He's sitting there, messing with his school science book, saying that maybe it could be aliens, and they could have used his DNA to create a clone of himself, and then used his memories to recreate this room, and they might be observing him right now. He decides to go for it, asks if there's anybody there, while looking up at the ceiling in silence. He says this is something he can confirm right now. Another possibility is that this is a parallel universe. The many worlds interpretation. One interpretation of quantum mechanics is that the world branches out in every direction at every moment, and he wonders if he's out of divergence. But from what he remembers, it's impossible for the branched out worlds to affect one another. He then starts thinking about another theory called the theory of eternal recurrence. He turns his chair, and then starts tapping the floor, saying for that to be the case, He shouldn't have memories of his past life, but he does. Then he wonders if maybe this is the afterlife, like heaven or hell, but to him, the situation is neither a reward nor a punishment. The memories of his last moments feel too real for it to have been a dream as well. Everything he felt that day with the rioters in the store, his head bleeding, the asteroid, the nuclear missiles being shot towards the asteroid, the rumbling and everything. None of it worked. He tightens the grip on his pants, low-key on the verge of a panic attack, as the sweat is rolling down his face. He lets out a sigh, and then his mother opens the door, calling out to him. She's surprised that he's awake, and asks why his books are all over the floor. He looks up at her, and she continues by walking in and picking up all of his books, saying this is a mess, and that he should put them back on the shelf when he's done reading them. He's still just stun-locked, and he's staring at her, not sure what to say, and she says that even his desk is a mess, asking if he was looking for something. She then turns to him, wondering why he's not answering, and then is surprised, as he immediately jumps up out of the chair, hugging onto her. She says that he's acting so strange, asking if he had a nightmare or something, and he says whether this is the afterlife, or he's a clone, he doesn't care. He gets to see his parents again, then he knew it wasn't a dream. But right now, he wants to think that those memories were nothing, that it was just a long, terrible nightmare. He sits there, looking at one of the science books on a bench, wondering if maybe everything's going to repeat itself. He hears his father call out to him, and he looks up, saying after seeing his parents again, he scrapped his clone and alien observer theory. Since his parents were cremated, and their ashes were laid to rest in a cemetery, it would have been impossible for the aliens to obtain their DNA and recreate them. He doesn't really know what he's experiencing, but he's certain that he's in a world just like the one he had previously experienced. But he wonders how and why him. There must have been people more qualified for this than an ordinary office worker like himself. As he's looking at portraits of people like Einstein and so on, he says that it would have been one of these people, somebody who you hang on the wall. He walks away, a little overwhelmed. His parents notice him being a little down, and as he keeps walking, his head sinks further and further, until a bright light causes him to look up, and he sees a giant sphere of the earth standing in front of him in this room. He says that even though he is still thinking these thoughts, Rama is hurtling towards the earth at every moment. And if this world is no different from the world he was in his dream, then the future is pretty much decided. As he watches these people talk about how the model of the earth is so beautiful, the asteroid's collision with earth is an established fact, and pondering over the hows and whys is a waste of time. He raises his hand up, putting it on it, saying to hold on to problems one cannot solve is pretty illogical. And what's clear is that he's faced with a problem for which he knows the cause and the effect, but he has no solution. He wonders what he must do to save the earth this time around. He slowly opens his eyes, and his parents ask if he likes this model of earth, and suggest that they take a picture right here. His mother says to make sure the earth is visible, and Cheolsu smiles a little bit. His father then starts counting down, and he hears a woman on the screen above his dad saying that the universe is infinite, as is the future that awaits them. And he recalls that one guy, Taiku, talking on the news that if they had discovered the asteroid 3 years earlier, rather even just a year earlier, then things could have been different. His eyes are open really wide now. As the countdown hits 3, he realizes what he must do. His father tells him to give him a smile and asks why he's spacing out like this, and Cheolsu realizes there might be a way to stop the asteroid.
Alright, that's a wrap on this one. I hope you had as much fun diving into this manhwa as I did talking about it. Let me know what you think, what part stood out to you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're into more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care and keep exploring awesome stories.